Thomas Wayne, for one, very important reason, asked him to be that. If you were, the richest man on earth, why would you ask, an East End guy from the services to be, the legal guardian to your son and heir, your only son? And it's because he's a protectorate. He's trustworthy, and he'll do anything for the boy.
Welcome to a very special episode of Gotham TV Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, John.
And I'm Derek.
And this week we have a very special guest joining us in the pod booth, so to speak. And that is Sean Pertwee, who plays Alfred Pennyworth on Gotham. Hi, Sean.
Hi, how you doing?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Very good. Yeah, no, very good. Very good.
Excellent. Great to have you on board.
Thank you.
Last time we spoke to one another, it was at a round table at New York Comic Con.
That's right.
Yeah, and you were mentioning really interestingly about a character Bible that you had done for Alfred and how he came into the Wayne service. And we've seen a bit of that past with your gunslinging episode there, with episodes 9 and 10 there.
Yeah.
Will any more of this past from the Bible be brought up in future episodes of Gotham?
Yeah, no, I very much so. I think you'll start to a certain degree, you'll learn about his past, things that have sort of molded him, and sort of emotionally into the Alfred that things that have deeply and darkly affected him, and possibly the reasons for his sort of fastidiousness and cossativeness. So you'll definitely start to see where he comes from, I think is the best way of putting it.
Excellent, absolutely. So another kind of callback to some of the earlier episodes that we've had. We in the episode Viper, we kind of saw a bit of the darker underside of Wayne Enterprises and the kind of things that could threaten the young Bruce Wayne. With Alfred kind of being tasked as the guardian and protector for Bruce, how does he deal with these kind of threats to the Wayne's name and the Wayne family?
Well, I think the thing is, he very much blames himself for the demise of Thomas and Martha Wayne, and this is where the sort of the pseudo-lax of oath starts to become evident, and his sort of protectiveness towards the young master-be. He's severely threatened by any threat towards Bruce, and he was a valet, and he was a protectorate and a confidant for Thomas Wayne. Mm-hmm. And so therefore he's privy to an awful lot of inside information, a lot more than I think that people actually realise. And so he's very aware of that there is a threat that is concealed within Wayne Enterprises. So he's extremely aware of that fact. So he's aware of it. He tries to steer him away from him, and when, of course, his interest starts to be pricked and piqued, he becomes concerned.
Yeah. It's interesting you talk about threats and protection, and we've seen you play military roles in the past, such as Sergeant Harry G. Wells in the excellent Dog Soldiers, which we both really enjoy as horror fans, but also as Smith in Event Horizon. Another weak spot of mine is Event Horizon. Sam Neill, I could never look at him again. After that, your version of Alfred has also got that kind of military background and is pretty handy now with a gun, as we saw in episode 10. How much do you bring any of those previous experiences from those roles, such as in Dog Soldiers and Event Horizon, to the character of Alfred?
Well, the thing is, I was lucky enough a long time ago now to actually spend some time at the Kill House in Herefordshire, which is the Royal Military Police sort of station, and where the SAS train, and I was trained with tracking and sort of survival techniques by the great Lofty Wiseman. And I spent time in a Kill House, which is basically acting as a bodyguard, which I did a series called Bodyguards a long time ago. So a lot of that was drawn from that. I mean, you learn sort of interesting sort of traits and skills about even things that we consider to be relatively simple, which is how to observe the situation that you're in, how to look. You see, that it's very easy to just to scan a room, but there's a way of scanning a room. So I was lucky enough to have that kind of sort of backbone training from the special services that are responsible for looking after the great and the good in our country. So I've had some experience with that element, and spending time in the kill house where you walk around this building with your principal, and you have to get them out of the way. So this is, it's all stuff that I drew from my Alfred, basically. That was one of the main sort of the physical aspects of our interpretation of him.
Excellent. That definitely is coming across. I'm sure you've seen the photographs of you mocked up as James Bond after that episode of.
Yeah, I love that. I have to say.
Yeah, excellent fun. It's totally as well described as the kick-arse Alfred that you told us in New York Comic Con. That is the kick-arse Alfred that we've seen so far. What kind of things have made Alfred lose his composure? What kind of things do you think pulls him over the edge?
Oh, the myriad of things. It's going back on one's word, bullying, lying, disrespect, not looking in your eye, laziness, slubberiness, injustice, violence to the young and the innocent, and personal hygiene, and actually not warming the teapot as well. Perhaps the main.
Very important.
So
exactly.
Selena
Very,
Kyle,
very
really.
important.
Is it builder's tea that you like, Sean, or?
No, it's more of a blend actually. A bit of Latsang and a bit of Assam.
Oh, very nice, yeah. But one of the things I suppose that the whole military experience doesn't necessarily sort of train you for has been the domestic situation, I suppose, that you found yourself in Wayne Manor. And certainly there's also an element of having orders being shouted at you by obviously the younger Master Wayne. How has that been to deal with? And certainly there's been some great fun about Alfred's parenting techniques on Twitter and online. How's that been to adjust?
Well, it's, on the contrary, really, I think, in many respects, being in the military, which we begin to learn and people are beginning to realise, you are institutionalised, so it's a sort of the natural progression. And also the fact that his father, in our Bible, his father Jarvis was the Batman to Thomas Wayne. That sort of sense of gossiptiveness and fastidiousness it helps him quell Alfred's wild style, which is his Alfredness, which we have witnessed now. And I think you'll start to see later on in the second half of the season what I'm talking about. I don't want to give too much away, but it's something that has aided him. And he has a very dark soul and a dark past. So in many respects, it's aided him to have that fastidiousness. So, and also, the only quandary, of course, is bringing up a child. He never signed on the dotted line to basically be a father. But Thomas Wayne, for one, very important reason, asked him to be that. If you were, the richest man on earth, why would you ask, an East End guy from the services to be, the legal guardian to your son and heir, your only son? And it's because he's a protectorate. He's trustworthy, and he'll do anything for the boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely seen that so far. We did throw a question out to some of our listeners to see if we could get some questions into them for you. And we got our first question from Irene Ryan, one of our listeners, who has loved you since Cold Feet, she says.
Oh, that's very nice.
So she wanted to know: did you expect to portray Alfred this way when you got the role, when it was set up for you? Did you expect him to play him this way, or did you expect him more as the classic English butler or gentleman?
No, it's a decision that we were very definite about, and Bruno was very definite about. That we always wanted to represent the common man. We felt that that it cuts through so many things. And so it cuts through the sort of the tape, and through the formality. And we saw that as a very sort of important factor in the growth of Bruce, to give him the flip side of the coin of what really the world is about. So it was a way of using that. So that was our decision from the beginning, was to represent a common name.
Excellent. We've already kind of talked about tea and warming the teapot, but one of the scenes we really enjoyed on Gotham was Jim Gordon's puzzled face in the GCPD precinct when Alfred talks about tea time, and we thought this was really, really funny. And so we wondered whether you could sort of describe to our American listeners exactly maybe what is tea time.
It's absolutely true, because that actually was born out of complete reality, because he was totally flummoxed. It is actually 4:00. There's many different variants of tea. You tip in, you have high tea, but 4:00, for the sort of the finger cucumber sandwiches and scones and things like that. But if you're me, tea time's any time. So there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. It was interesting because it reminded me also of in Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, where one of the hobbits talks about second breakfast, and it sort of spins out into 11s and brunch and so on.
Exactly.
Absolutely. There's many British people involved in the show. There's quite a high contingent of you with Aaron Richards, with Bruno Heller, with Danny Cannon, yourself,
right.
Obviously. What's the camaraderie like?
I sort of saw. I loved something to talk about the Brits. Oh no, you haven't seen it. I can't tell you.
No.
No, right. So I'll tell you that another time. It's a very funny thing actually seeing that Bruno slipped in, which I hadn't noticed in the week through, and I actually saw it on the TV the other day. Very good.
Oh, very.
Sorry. So what
very
was
good.
What were you going to say?
We'll have to have a good hard look at the next half of the season, as we always do, to find that little clue. No, just generally the Brits. There's quite a lot of our side of the world on Gotham. Is there a different kind of feeling on the show, or is there a bit of camaraderie between the English actors that are on there, with Andrew Stewart Jones, Aaron Richards, yourself? And then,
the thing is that we're an extraordinarily, you guys have probably heard all this many, many times before, but we actually literally are one of the sort of tightest sort of ships and companies that I've ever worked on. We're all extremely fond of each other, and there's no prima donnas. We're very close, all of us, and it's a really sort of unfussy, really rather wonderful sort of work experience. It's just a lovely bunch. Socially we see each other. They're just a great crew, great bunch.
Excellent. One other one. So you are now the 12th actor to portray Alfred across the course of all the animated films and movies and video games. But there's one more on his way, which is Jeremy Irons, about to play a bit of an older version of Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice. I think that's the full title for that. I know you wouldn't have gotten a huge amount of advice from some of the previous actors that played Alfred, and I know you have a huge amount of respect for them. If you were to give some advice to Jeremy Irons about taking on the role, what would it be?
My advice to Jeremy Irons.
Mm-hmm.
Oh Lord!
Go on.
I know. I have no advice. I have no idea which direction to sort of going with it. I don't know. I think the thing is, it's I don't know. I have no advice. He's a sort of fantastic actor, and I wish him the best. And I'm waiting with bated breath to see what he does. So there you go.
Excellent.
Yeah, we sort of in the first half up to episode 10, we've also kind of seen Alfred then begin to accept Bruce's investigative kind of skills. Kind of sort of definitely in the episode Viper, which was one of our favourites. Do you think this is the start of more a partnership between Bruce and Alfred that ultimately leads to that Batman relationship between the Batman and Alfred? Or was it more sort of that early on in the series, maybe Alfred trying to just simply placate the young Bruce to this kind of obsession that he had wound himself up into? And how would this kind of affect their relationship moving forward, this acceptance of Bruce and his different routes that he's exploring as a younger kid?
I just think it's a relationship start, definitely. I think that now I've got a teenage son called Alfred, and it's a way for our Alfred and Bruce to begin a dialogue, to begin a way of communicating, to find like a common cause. And one that sort of influences each of their characters, because later on you learn, Alfred learns as much from Bruce as the other way around. Alfred learns an understanding that, an understanding that continues throughout their lives. It's a very important factor in their relationship. You need to find the hook and it's something that they sit around the table and they find a way of communicating. He's not his father, he's valet, but it's their relationship changes at that precise moment where they find a common cause. The dialogue.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's a very interesting moment between the two, definitely. Ben McKenzie spoke to us at New York Comic Con as well, and he did specifically speak about the battle between the two former military officers, or two former military soldiers, about the battle over Bruce's soul between both Jim and Alfred, with Jim taking a bit of a softer approach to kind of handling him with a little bit more kid gloves, and obviously Alfred kind of handling it in a bit of a different way. Is there any resentment between Alfred and Jim over the relationship that's forming between Bruce and Jim?
No, not at all. I think there's an innate mistrust. There's a mistrust of perverse authority, of people that have ulterior motives, ulterior motives. Sorry, and this develops into one of mutual protectiveness between Jim and Alfred, and it then slowly builds to a mutual respect between.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's interesting because at the centre of Jim and Alfred, there is David Mazouz, who's playing Bruce Wayne. He's given us really a glimpse of a really intelligent and focused young Bruce Wayne, and we're starting to see his leadership qualities come out. How does Alfred handle these changes that Bruce is experiencing, and also, can you tell us a bit more about working with David Mazouz? David Mazouz, because he's really plays an excellent. We've really enjoyed his portrayal of the young Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean David is he's an extraordinary talent. His focus is without doubt something to behold, and I think this focus transposes into Alfred and Bruce's relationships. It sort of quells the fury that Alfred's got. In fact, they both suffer from. They're both damaged goods. They both suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. Mm-hmm. So that's it. Really. Yeah, he's extraordinary, David, and it's an absolute pleasure every day to work with the guys.
Yeah. Talking about the wider cast, so what we really saw in episode 10 was a lot more of your character moving out into the city of Gotham and spending some time with actors like Drew Powell and Jada Pinkett-Smith, and a great partnership with Donal Logue in episode 10. What was it like kind of moving out of the confines of Wayne Manor and working within the city of Gotham?
I've got to say, it was an absolute complete blast. It really was. I mean, as Donald said, he said in sort of previous interviews, it was really great to release sort of the Alfredness onto Gotham. It really was. It was just an extraordinary experience, and to work with this caliber of actors that we work with, every day on our show, and to meet 3/4 of them in one episode, and be able to start with the beautiful Jada Pinkett-Smith and Fish Mooney. And it was an absolute, honour, and it was a pleasure to get out of that bloody study as well, I have to say. So that was a huge plus point, I have to say, was getting out the study. No, but it was great. It was a great episode, and I thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it. Like I said, because I get to team up. There's kind of a sort of an acceptance between Donal and between Bullock and Alfred, which I never saw coming. The fact that they're both straight shooters, they both look at, they're both, they say how it is, and I thought that was very interesting. Pairing again, things like that is where Bruno's writing so brilliantly. You don't see it often on the page. Sometimes you miss it on the page when you stand it up and you're doing it. You're in this sort of zone. I found that natural pairing really interesting. I hope I get to do more with him. And also then, of course, the bizarre thing was with Fish Mooney was I don't know where that sort of came from. I mean, Jada was literally surprised as I was. There was sort of this, I've got to say, it's a slight sexual frisson between Alfred and Fish, which we weren't really aware of. It just sort of happened. So that was fun, you know. And I got to work with Butch and everyone, so it was great. It was a great episode, you know. May there be many more like that episode.
It sounds like Alfred had some cabin fever, maybe, in Wayne Manor.
That'll trap wind. I'm not sure.
Speaking of that, moving out into the wider world of Gotham, and one of the interesting things is, you know, how are those scenes shot? Because, you know, for the majority of the first half of the season, yourself and David Mazouz have been almost exclusively at Wayne Manor, and then you begin to interact with, there was Cole Vallis, who played Tommy Elliott, Cameron Bickendover obviously came into Wayne Manor, and then there was obviously episode 10 where you got to play with Donal Logue and Drew Powell and Jada Pinkett-Smith in the wider world. Are these scenes, what's the technicalities of these? You know, are these scenes shot out of order with the rest of the filming for the same episode?
No, I mean, the thing is, that's one of the interesting factors and one of the sort of great factors of working with David so closely is that we shoot consecutively. So we, you know, our narrative is we always feel is quite strong and feels quite fresh whenever we sort of approach it. Mm-hmm. You know, and the maelstrom of and the confusion that is Gotham is brought to us. You know, why would we know what's happening in the back alleys of Gotham? So it's brought to us. So it seems quite fresh. So although sometimes you feel slightly alienated because we're stuck in the manor, it's brought to us. So it's real. So we're lucky that we shoot consecutively like that. For some of the other guys that shoot, you know, virtually every day, people, you know, like Ben and Donal and things like that, it must get quite confusing because we have tandem days, but we're lucky that we shoot very consecutively, which very rarely happens, especially on something of this sort of magnitude.
So, as you know, obviously, better than most, everyone has, for one reason or another, their favourite Doctor from Doctor Who. In the world of Gotham, there have been many actors who played Batman. Do you have a particular favourite?
Oh, that's unfair. I mean, okay, here we go. And all of them have got their attributes, but I'd say one thing that I bet they wished they'd seen David play the Origin. I think that's a very correct way of saying it. I think the thing is that his sort of intensity is thoroughly believable, and I think that it would have been great for all of the Batmans to have seen where he came from.
Excellent. I'm hopeful that Ben Affleck is hopefully tuning in and learning some lessons for his portrayal of Batman coming up.
As well, another question from one of our listeners, who is also a big Whovian, is from one of our listeners, Doug Green. He asks, "You are clearly very proud of your father, John Pertwee's legacy. How has he influenced your acting career, and has he had any influence on your acting style?"
I'd have to say that not necessarily, because I was trained classically. My father spent a lot of time in theatre, but vaudeville really was his sort of background, which everybody did, in radio. And but then I sort of moved very sort of smartly on into sort of bloody violence and gangsterism, and then science fiction. Of course, we do have sort of common grounds with. But what's alarming to me, not alarming, but in a very positive way, and back to my mother and my sister and people that knew my father, is that my mannerisms are becoming I'm incredibly like my father. I move like my father, and I have my father's nose, so that's something that I have learned from him, to have his nose. But no, in answer to your question, that's basically it. I think it's that's it. That's my answer.
Excellent.
Excellent. And we do love the photograph of you dressed up as the Third Doctor.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
you like that.
Fantastic Halloween moment. Well done.
Yeah.
So Neil Marshall, director of Dog Soldiers, who we, as we mentioned earlier on, we adore his that movie. He's also gotten huge acclaim for working on Game of Thrones. His episodes seem to be ones that come around every season, and everybody's excited for those episodes. He's also worked on Constantine, another DC TV show. Would you like to work with him again on Gotham?
No, I'd love it. One of the most enjoyable experiences I've ever had was actually working with Neil on Dogs. I sincerely hope he would actually come over and do one, and it'd be brilliant. Yeah, no, I'd love him to come and play. It'd be brilliant. He's a fantastic person. He's doing so well, and I love his work now as well. So, it's a shame he never got to do Dogs 2, really. But there you go.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. It was a real pity, but yeah, wouldn't it be great to see his version of taking on Alfred and Bruce for an entire episode? It would be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Oh, that'd be fantastic. That would be fantastic. That'd be a dream come true.
For the second half of the season, so from episode 11 for us still, we're waiting and waiting, and we can't wait for it to come back on TV over here. But are there any snippets?
You're on 10, are you now? What are you on?
Yeah, we're on 10 up to episode 10. Was it Lovecraft?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And we wondered, are there any snippets from that second half of the season, from episode 11 onwards, that you are excited about for the audience to see, and I suppose the American audience are getting to look at the moment, and any of those moments that you would like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, no, I mean, there is one in particular which actually airs on Monday here, and it's episode 17, where basically one of the elements of the story is that Alfred's past turns up on the doorstep in the rain in the form of David O'Hara. He's a very extremely old friend of mine. I was at the RSC with him 20 years ago, and his past turns up on the door, and the plot unfolds. I can't say any more because it would ruin it, but it's for me it was an extremely different episode, because you learn an awful lot about why Alfred is the way that he is, and you learn about his past and what he was capable of and what happened to him. So for me, that was a great experience, and working with Dave and David was a real joy, and it was a very different episode for me as an actor. So that's one I'm very excited by. I haven't seen it yet. It's coming out on Monday. So episode 17 is an important one.
Excellent. So we expect you to be live tweeting that one, I guess.
Yeah, that sounds really intriguing. Looking forward to that now. Yeah.
Excellent. As you experienced at New York Comic Con, and we did, we were kind of blown away by the fandom that was at New York Comic Con when we were there. Our first experience of a Comic-Con, you kind of experienced the amount of people geeking out over Gotham. The audience reaction to you guys was pretty amazing. What kind of stuff do you geek out about? What's your passion?
Well, I mean, art is one of my passions. I grew up in Ibiza. My father was a huge lover of art, and I actually opened a gallery in Soho in London. So that's something that I'm a collector of art. It's just something that I care deeply about, and I'm fascinated by, especially sort of English contemporary art, basically. Film, I live in the capital, well, it's not the capital of America, but it feels like it when you're in New York, and it's terrible guilty pleasure. Depending on my mood, I will literally see anything. I love going to the cinema. It's one of my deep passions. I love it. I will watch anything depending on my mood.
Anything particularly in the cinema that stood out to you over the last while?
Things like I absolutely love Birdman and Burn Hotel and things, the ones that are basically nominated, a lot of them are nominated. But I love Birdman, but it's just genius. I love The Kingsman as well. I mean, it's a genre movie I thought it was brilliant. It was great seeing, the boys like Mark Strong and Colin Firth be so brilliant again. I love that movie, so it was hilarious. Especially makes you miss home when you're over here. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We asked an unusual question when we spoke last to Victoria Cartagena and Andrew Stewart-Jones, who play obviously Rennie Montoya and Crispus Allen on Gotham. And we wanted to ask, if Gotham TV podcast were to show up on the doorstep of Wayne Manor, how would Alfred deal with these two visitors to Gotham from Ireland?
Well, I mean, first of all, how did you get to the door? And secondly, I'd grasp you firmly by the elbow and I'd walk you very smartly to the gates, and I might even show you my commando knife.
Excellent.
You could set the dogs on us as well.
Yeah, well, no, I don't need dogs, mate.
That's true. Nice. So one final question for you while we have you. As we mentioned earlier on, we're huge fans of Event Horizon, and judging by the most recent Christopher Nolan film, Interstellar, he's a huge fan as well. Any tales from the making of Event Horizon you could share with us?
No, but it was a sort of seminal moment as a young man. I think there's a cast of, 6 of us. You know, the fantastic Fishburne and Kathleen Quinlan and Sam Neill, Jason Isaacs, who's a very old friend of mine, and the crew. And you know, really those were the days. I mean, I think it was sort of $75 million movie. We were shooting on a Bond stage. It was quite early on in my film career. It was lit by Adrian Biddle. You know, there's stories abound. You know, that was a time of my life, really. You know, it was an extraordinary experience. I'm really pleased. I think it warrants the fact that it's still got legs and people still like it. You know, it's I think I still find it creepy. And you know, there's comparisons still drawn from Sunshine to Interstellar and things like that. I think that it definitely, you know, it sort of carved its own niche, and I still find it spooky, weirdly enough. You know, and I'm in it.
Absolutely, I loved that film. I'm a big fan of Alien as well, and I think it captures that space horror really well. And as I said earlier on, I think for me, Sam Neill as well I was shocked, because then I think I saw him on Jurassic Park, where he was a completely different character. But it was it's an excellent film. So thanks for just telling us a few bits and bobs about your time there. That's great.
It was a pleasure.
Excellent. Thank you very much for joining us, Sean. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. I think the next time we'll hopefully see you over this side of the world, and we'll be able to buy you a pint.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sean.
I'll hold you to that.
Excellent.
All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Well, that was our interview with Sean Pertwee. We really enjoyed that.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Loved it.
Hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as we did. Just wanted to say a quick thanks to the people who helped to make that happen, to Holly, to Mark, and to Brendan. Your involvement was really important to us, and obviously another huge thank you to Sean Pertwee. Yeah, thank you so much for your time given to us. It's really, really generous. Thank you. And one more point of business for this episode, I think, John? Yes, that's right. So we've got another competition, and this time a chance to win a signed Penguin print by Christopher Uminga. It's a great bit of artwork. We'll put a picture of it up on our website and give additional details on our competition section of the website. But this competition is for the best feedback on any episode of Gotham from episode 11 till the end of the season, and also for any reviews, the best review that we get. Obviously, all reviews are good. It really helps us to sort of develop the show and respond to you guys. But any review on iTunes, Stitcher, or Player FM. So you can send any comments and feedback through email to feedback@gothamtvpodcast.com, or of course leave your review on iTunes, Stitcher, and Player FM. Yep, and just to make sure that we see the review, if you can pop us on a quick email after you've put up your review on iTunes. We do check them, but there are many different countries in iTunes, so if you leave it in your own country, we may not see it, but just pop us on an email after you've done it, and we can we'll be able to see it then. So thanks very much. Really good to talk to Sean Pertwee, and really good to kick off our competition. Competition will run to the end of season 1 as we start to get new episodes, and so you'll have loads of time to leave your feedback or leave us a review on iTunes.
Exactly. Thanks again to Sean Pertwee. And I think on that note, I think it's tea time.
Yes, it is. Maybe we'll have some scones.
Or scones.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Talk to you again soon.
Bye.